So just a simple 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, sketch out your image, keep it simple. Then what I did, I took it to a copy shop and I got them to enlarge it to bring it up to a size of 24 inches wide by 36 inches tall. And as you can see, keeping the image real simple and real basic, at least that's what works for me. Now, this is one of my first times trying this, so I'm hoping it's going to come out fine. And now you see me measuring, and just like I said, it's 24 by 36 inches wide. And that's what you can get the copy place to enlarge the size for you. And usually that's only a couple of dollars. You could probably skip this step and just print out multiple sheets and tape them together, but it's up to you. So now I have a piece of muslin fabric, and you'll see in some of the additional videos where I use a different color muslin fabric. It's just a personal preference. It's entirely up to you what works for you. But you do want to make sure your fabric that you can see the image through there, because you're going to trace onto the fabric the basic outline of the image. It helps if you pin the cloth directly to the paper, just like you would a pattern. But remember, a fabric pattern, you normally would attach the pattern to the top and the fabric on the bottom, and this is reverse. You've got the fabric on top and the pattern underneath, so you can see through, and now you can trace through it. This is one way to trace through it. If you've got strong lines and a relatively thin fabric, but a strong base fabric, you can see right through, and you should be able to trace over your lines without any problems at all. But I am going to show you another way to do this, because especially with these larger images, if you don't have a light table that would fit this size, then you can use a window, and I'll show you how that's like super easy to do. So you see me, yeah. Once again, I apologize. I really lost the audio on this particular video, so I'm having to think back and talk through what I did. And I think here I'm just showing you just real simple outline over your image. Now you could use an invisible fabric pen. You could use a Sharpie, because remember, because this is going to be a fabric quilt, what you're going to do is you're going to be attaching fabric to this top sheet of your quilt, and you're not going to see those lines. Most likely you will not see those lines. So let me go ahead and show you how to attach it to a window. If you've got a window in your house that you can kind of scooch the blinds up, then that'll be fine. And just take some tape and just tape it to the window, and then you'll be able to make sure you've captured all the lines that you want at this stage of the game. So you're taking your 8.5 by 11 sheet, you took it to a copy place, you had them blow it up to 24 by 36 inches, and now you're starting to trace onto the top of
what you can see
your quilt top, your muslin fabric. And this is so simple. The hardest part is deciding which fabrics you want to use. So let's go on to the next. Pretty okay duct tape, but definitely duct tape that's not going to be hard to get off of the window. Once again, if you notice, sorry about all the movement. If you notice, remember I had put pens to keep the fabric and the paper together. Now, since I've already done this image, I might do another one, but in the meantime, what you want to do, and this technique is helpful if you are having a little challenge seeing through to the image on the other side. So, but I can see real clearly now. It's a bright, sunshiny day. This might work on an overcast day. I'm not sure. But just gonna draw it in. And just, you're just lightly tracing, because even if you had a dark line, even if you did this with a Sharpie, it probably wouldn't matter that much, simply because you're gonna cover all of this with fabric anyway. Okay, so should I go there? And there, the eyelashes on the other side. And this was not a very complicated image, and I strongly suggest start with something simple with basic lines for you to follow. Makes your life a whole lot easier. Okay, if I do this like I did the other one, you don't really see her ear anyway, so it's not that big a deal. Okay, so I can lift this up and I can see, yeah, the image is there. Okay, so that looks fine. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take this down and we'll take it back over to the table. Okay, so I had only used 2 pens. You don't need to use a whole lot. So now I'm gonna take the big image, and this is 24 by 36 inches. I'm gonna set that aside, and hopefully you can see this. So now you'll see the image very lightly drawn with pencil onto your piece of muslin fabric. And remember, if you're doing this as a quilt, so this is essentially your quilt top. Then of course you're gonna have your quilt batting, and then you're gonna have the back of your quilt. So, and then plus you're gonna have all your other fabric attached. So I hope this part 1, which is really kind of important, that you see what it is you need to do so you can get started. And I do hope, because this is kind of a involved project, that you'll share with me some photos on social media of how you're progressing. And thank you for watching. So, woo, can't wait to get started on the next step. Bye. Okay, so I'm showing you here the beginning stages of selecting your fabrics that you want to use to put your quilted art project together. Sometimes you've got to audition quite a few fabrics, and I, by chance, had this really cool fabric that looks great for hair. At least I think so. So what you need to do at this point is you're going to find your fabric that you're going to use for each section, and then you just cut out the bits and pieces, the scraps, and you're just going to glue them down, and then you're going to quilt and stitch on top of that, just like applique. So now what I did was I took some other pieces of fabric and I cut them to shape the different parts of the image. So I've still got to finish all this other part, but let me show you. Oh, and I just glued them down with a little bit of glue, not a lot of this tacky glue, because remember, ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to quilt all of this down anyway. So I just need it to stay in place. And I don't know if you could tell, but here is just a lot of little pieces because I didn't cut it in one big chunk, but I think it's going to be really, really cool. So I've got so many little scraps of fabric, and I think this type of project will work out perfectly. So with all those little scraps of fabric that I have, because when you think about it, all those scraps of fabric that you have from more expensive pieces of fabric that you bought must be worth a small fortune. So why not put them to use? And I almost never throw any scraps away.